I need to tell you something I have not said publicly before. At some point in the last few years, I caught myself, mid-sentence, mid-moment, and I went completely still inside. Because what I was saying, the tone of it, the sharpness of it, sounded like someone I grew up with, someone whose voice I had spent years not wanting to carry. And there it was. Coming out of my mouth, in my home, around the people I love most, I had become who I swore I would never be. And here is what I want to say before anything else. If you have ever had that moment, if you have ever caught yourself and thought, I sound just like them, this video is for you. Whether that is a parent, a sibling, someone who raised you, someone who shaped you. Whether you have children of your own, or you are just in relationship with people you love, and you can feel that something is being passed on that you never chose to carry. Stay with me. Because this is the conversation that can actually change something. Welcome back to Ife Random Reflections. I am Ife. And I want to say this gently before we move forward because this topic is not a light one. If you found this video today, I do not think that was by accident. This is week 2 of our May series on children and generational healing. If you missed last week's episode, The Child You Were Still Lives Here, go watch that first. It is the foundation for everything we are building this month. Subscribe if you are not already here, turn on notifications, and let us go all the way in. Let me tell you what a cycle actually is. Because I think we have made it too dramatic in our heads. We hear the word cycle and we think addiction, abuse, catastrophic dysfunction. And yes, those are cycles. But most cycles are quieter than that. Most cycles are just the unexamined ways of being that got handed to you before you were old enough to have a say. A cycle can be the belief that failure is shameful rather than instructive, that things have to be perfect before they are okay, that emotions are a sign of weakness, that love has to be earned. That rest means you are lazy, that the way to stay safe is to stay in control. Nobody sat you down and taught you those things out loud. You absorbed them. You watched them lived out in front of you every single day, and your nervous system filed them away as just the way things are. For me, it was 2 things. The first was perfectionism. Not the kind that is inspiring and life-giving, the anxious kind, the kind where something being imperfect does not just feel disappointing. It feels dangerous, like something is about to fall apart. Like someone is about to be let down in a way that cannot be undone. I grew up watching that, I absorbed it, and then one day I looked up and realized I was living it. Running from it in one direction and running straight into it in another. The second was my relationship with failure. I do not accept excuses for failure. In myself first, and if I am honest, sometimes in the people around me, and I know exactly how that sounds. I have heard how it sounds. That is the point. There is a version of high standards that is beautiful and generative, and there is a version that is punishing. That makes mistakes feel like verdicts rather than moments. That leaves no room to just be human. I knew where it came from. I had watched it my whole life. I just did not realize I had picked it up and started carrying it until I was already deep in it. That is how cycles work. You do not choose them, you inherit them. And here is the thing that makes it so hard to see. The very strategies that helped you survive your childhood can become the things that wound the people you love in your adulthood. The toughness that got you through becomes harshness to someone who needed softness. The self-sufficiency that kept you going becomes distance to someone who needed connection. The perfectionism that made you excellent becomes impossible pressure on someone who just needed to be loved as they are. None of it intentional, all of it real. And yet people still ask, but if I know better, why do I keep doing it? That question deserves a real answer. We do not repeat patterns because we are weak. We repeat them because they are familiar. And familiar to the nervous system feels like safe, even when it is not, even when it is painful, even when the conscious mind is screaming that this is not who I want to be. The body does not always wait for the mind to catch up. The body goes where it has been before. You can decide in your head that you will never make love feel conditional, and then get disappointed one day and go completely quiet, not because you plan to, but because silence is what your nervous system learned happens when someone lets you down. That is not moral failure. That is an unhealed pattern moving faster than your awareness could catch it, and that distinction matters. Because the moment you see clearly what you have been doing, it is one of the most disorienting experiences a person can have. You thought you were different. You thought leaving the environment was enough. You thought that because you were aware of the wound, you were automatically free from it. Awareness is the beginning. But awareness alone does not break anything. So let me tell you about the moment something shifted for me, because I think this part is as important as anything else in this conversation. It was not dramatic. It did not happen in a therapy session, although therapy has absolutely been part of my journey. It happened in an ordinary moment when something felt familiar in a way I could not keep moving past. And instead of doing what I always did, instead of pushing through and filing it away, I stopped. I sat with it, I looked at it fully, and I named it. I said out loud, even just to myself, this is the perfectionism. This is the inherited thing. This is not a standard I chose. This is a survival strategy I was handed. And something about naming it that clearly, even privately, was like turning a light on in a room that had always been dark. The thing did not disappear. But I could see it now. And once you can see something, it does not have the same grip on you anymore. Because naming it changes the question. Before you name it, the question is, why am I like this? And that question has no good answer. It just pulls you down. But after you name it, the question becomes, do I want to keep this? Do I want to pass this on? Or is this where it ends? And that question has somewhere to go. I want to be honest with you. Preparing this series brought me to tears. Because sitting with this content was uncovering things I had been covering for a long time. And if this conversation is doing the same thing in you right now, if something is surfacing that you have been keeping down, that is not a sign to stop. That is a sign you are getting somewhere real. So what does breaking the cycle actually look like? Because I think we have romanticized it. We imagine a clean before and after. The broken patterns behind us, the whole life ahead of us, and a clear line in between. But it does not work like that. Breaking a cycle is not a moment, it is a practice. It is 1,000 small choices, many of which you will not even notice you are making until afterward. The first thing it looks like is getting genuinely honest about what you're carrying. Not performing honesty, not using the right words to describe something you have not actually felt. Real honesty, the uncomfortable kind. The kind that shows up as unexpected tears in the middle of a Tuesday. That discomfort is not a sign to stop. It is a sign that something real is being moved. The second thing it looks like is repairing in real time. This is the one nobody talks about enough. You are going to slip. The old pattern is going to come out before the new one has a chance to. And the question is not whether that happens. It is what you do next. Do you carry on as if it did not happen, or do you go back? Do you say to whoever received the weight of that old pattern, "That was not okay, I am sorry, let me try again"? That act of repair is something most of us never received growing up. And it is one of the most powerful things you can offer the people in your life. It shows them that love includes accountability, that adults can be wrong, that relationships can survive honesty. Those are things a person can carry into their whole life. The third thing it looks like is building new language. Literally, finding words for emotions that were never named in your home. Learning to say, "I was hurt" instead of going quiet. Learning to say, "I need a moment" instead of exploding. Learning to say, "That did not feel right to me" instead of swallowing it whole and letting it come out sideways later. New language does not arrive automatically. You have to practice reaching for it. You have to choose it even when the old responses feel faster and easier. The fourth thing, and this is the one I hold most personally, is letting the people around you see you in process. Not performing strength, not pretending you have arrived somewhere you have not. Actually letting them see you name a feeling, sit with a hard moment, say sorry when you need to, choose differently than you could have. If you have children, this is one of the most significant things you can do for them. But if you do not have children, this still belongs to you. A younger sibling, a friend who looks up to you, a colleague who is watching more than you realize. Someone is always watching, and what they see you do with your hard moments becomes permission for them to do the same. Because a person who watches someone they trust be fully human and still show up, they learn that feelings are survivable, that mistakes are not the end, that you can be in process and still be worth loving. That is a cycle worth starting. Before I close, I want to say something about the people who handed you what you are working to put down. This is not about blame. I want to say that clearly. The people who shaped your patterns were almost certainly shaped by their own. They were carrying things that were given to them before they had any choice in the matter either. That does not excuse harm, but it does explain it. And there is a real difference between excusing and understanding. Understanding creates space for your own healing without requiring you to stay in something that is hurting you. When I look back now, I can see that the patterns I grew up with were survival strategies too. The people who raised me were doing their best with what they had been given. Their best was sometimes not enough for what I needed. Both of those things are true at the same time, and being able to hold both of them is what keeps this work from being swallowed by bitterness. Grace is not pretending nothing happened. Grace is choosing not to let what happened determine what happens next. For you, for the children in your life, and the ones who will come after them. You are not just healing for yourself. Every honest look, every repaired moment, every time you choose differently, is something you are passing forward to a generation that has not arrived yet. That is not a small thing. That is one of the most significant things a human being can do. I became who I swore I would never be, but I named it, and naming it meant it could no longer name me. I am not speaking from a finished place today. I am speaking from a place of honest movement. Some days I get it right. Some days the old voice comes out before I can catch it. But the direction is forward. And forward, even when it is slow and messy and nothing like you imagined, is enough. If you are anywhere in this story, whether you are just beginning to see the patterns or you are already deep in the work of changing them, I want you to know that the fact that you are even asking the questions is already the cycle breaking. The awareness is the first crack in the wall. Do not stop. If this video moves something in you, like it so more people who need this can find it. Subscribe if this is your first time here and turn on notifications, because this series is only going deeper. Share this with someone who is in the work, someone who is trying to be different from what they came from. And drop a comment below and tell me, what is one pattern you are actively working to break? I want to read every single one. I am Ife. I will see you in the next one.